Welcome back to another Polymer Bazaar explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to be guiding you through today's intelligence briefing. We're looking at the polystyrene weekly report and future trend for the fourth week of July 2026. You know, the polymer market is moving so incredibly fast right now, and having the right data at the right time, well, that's literally the difference between a squeezed margin and a highly profitable quarter. So let's dive right into this and see exactly what the data is telling us. All right, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering global market trends, some really cool AI-powered market updates, an Indian Bazaar deep dive, and we'll wrap up with our strategic purchase recommendations. The bottom line up front for this explainer, we're seeing a massive clash between rising global costs and pretty sluggish demand. Let's unpack what that means for you. Kicking things off with Section 1, Global Market Trends, focusing on rising costs versus slow demand. We're seeing a really stark contrast across different regions right now. Take a look at the US Bazaar. Production costs are actively climbing. Even though demand is slow, we're actually seeing prices for general purpose and high-impact polystyrene, GPPS and HIPS moving higher at FAS Houston, and CFR US West Coast prices are up too. But if we flip over to the Europe and Turkey bazaars, it's a completely different story. Over there, we're tracking a substantial inflow of imports. Demand is just dull, which basically means buyers are restricted purchasing on a need-to-have basis. Zooming in on Turkey for a second, this perfectly illustrates the real-world impact of all this macroeconomic strain. Weak economic conditions have literally forced converters into a corner. They're heavily restricting their purchases to just their immediate factory needs. They just can't afford to stockpile right now. And this is happening even as prices are skewing higher on a CFR basis. It's a classic hand-to-mouth buying environment, for sure. Now, let's swing over to the China Bazaar to fill in the rest of this global picture. We've got a totally different catalyst at play here. Styrene and ex-works prices are very likely to rise, but get this. It's not because of a surge in local consumption. Overall demand is actually staying pretty poor. Instead, this shift is being driven entirely by higher crude oil pushing up costs from the bottom. So ex-works prices just have to rise to compensate for those feedstock hikes. To really ground this in some hard data, let's look at the current spot prices in China. GBPS is sitting right at RMB 9,550 per metric ton. And HIPS, which usually commands that premium, is at RMB 10,700 per metric ton. You're definitely going to want to keep these baselines in mind as we evaluate the broader cost pressures hitting the supply chain. Moving right along to Section 2, AI-powered market updates, and how you can get instant predictions via WhatsApp. Look, in a market as volatile as the one we're in right now, waiting around for an email can literally mean missing your window of opportunity. To fix that, Polymer Bazaar has integrated an incredible AI capability to empower your decision-making. This tool gives you the PP Weekly Report, future trends, and predictions with absolute maximum efficiency. And the best part is how incredibly easy it is to use. It's just 2 steps. Step 1, just shoot a WhatsApp message with the letters PP to +9 193746 24365. Step 2, you get instant AI updates in just 5 seconds. Literally 5 seconds. It is absolutely the fastest way to keep your finger on the pulse of the market, right from your phone. Okay, let's pivot to Section 3, our Indian Bazaar deep dive. We'll be looking closely at local rates and the buying pulse on the ground. Starting with the latest overseas offers, we're really starting to see those global cost pressures trickle down. GPPS import offers have edged higher, hovering around $1340 per metric ton on a CIF, Navasheva, and Mundra basis. And keep in mind, that pricing is specifically for shipments scheduled for mid-August 2026. And you know, it's not just overseas. Locally, this upward pressure is already hitting. Effective July 2026, the local GPS price officially saw an increase of 3 rupees per kilogram. Tracking right alongside that, the local HIS price also increased, moving up by 2 rupees per kilogram on that exact same date. So we're seeing a very clear, definitive step up in the domestic pricing floor. So why are buyers acting the way they are right now? Well, let's look at the buying pulse. Ongoing geopolitical uncertainty is actively driving bazaar visits. Buyers aren't necessarily panicking, but they're being super strategic. They're actively looking to lock in current rates now, anticipating that prices are just going to keep going up. And because they're stepping in to secure those rates, overall demand strength is actually holding pretty steady at moderate levels. Which brings us to the most crucial part of today's explainer, Section 4, Strategic Purchase Recommendations and Navigating the Weeks Ahead. This all boils down to one fundamental question facing every buyer right now. How should you navigate these rising international crude costs and the very real potential for feedstock spikes? To answer that, we really need to understand the chain reaction at play here. First, we know we've got higher crude oil prices. Next, that bump in crude directly leads to increased costs for feedstock imports. That, in turn, obviously means higher overall production costs. And finally, well, in that scenario, local producers are highly likely to raise their ex-works prices to protect their margins. It's a direct domino effect from crude straight to your factory floor. Because of all that, our conclusion is pretty definitive. We suggest buying at current prices. With this upward momentum so clearly mapped out from raw materials to local ex-works rates, securing your inventory right now is absolutely the most effective way to hedge against these impending increases. Thank you so much for joining me for this Polymer Bazaar explainer. To stay ahead of the curve, make sure you subscribe to Polymer Bazaar on YouTube. Keep an eye out for our upcoming other commodity and engineering updates. And hey, for direct PP buying and selling leads, just contact +91 9313 924356. As we watch all these complex global pressures unfold, I'll leave you with this. Will you sit back and let the market dictate your material costs, or will you take action and lock in your competitive advantage today?